Hello TYBA student friends. In our last video on the topic communication skills, we did the introductory discussion of the term communication. Now in this video we are going to discuss the second point of the communication skill, that is defining communication. We are going to define, or we are going to discuss some definitions of the term communication in this video. Friends, the term communication, as we discussed in our last video, that the word communication is derived from the Latin word communis. It means to share or belonging to. It is an attempt to share information and knowledge to make it known to all. Now let us see some important definitions of the term communication. Friends, it is very easy to understand and describe the concept of communication, but it is very difficult to define the term itself. It is easy to understand, it is but it is difficult to define the term. It is very easy to understand, it is very easy to describe even, but the term communication, when it comes to define the term communication in particular words, it is quite difficult. So communication is simply a process. Communication is what? Communication is simply a process. It is not only an art but also a science. Communication is an art, but it is science also. Let us see some important definitions of the term communication. Communication is a process of exchanging ideas, thoughts, information, knowledge, etc. Communication is a process. It is a way, it is a process of exchanging. Exchanging means what? Exchanging means giving and taking. What giving and taking? What exchanging? Our ideas, our thoughts, our feelings, our whatever information we have, knowledge, these things we exchange from time to time with others. We share our thoughts with our friends, for example. So this kind of sharing, this kind of exchange of ideas and thoughts and information and knowledge between sender and receiver through accepted codes. The process of exchanging ideas and thoughts between sender and receiver through accepted codes, between sender and receiver through accepted codes. Definitely, between sender and receiver means what? Between speaker and listener. Sender means, we can say, speaker, receiver means listener. So between sender and receiver through accepted codes means through accepted language. Accepted language means the common language, the language of sender and the language of receiver, or the language of speaker and listener should be common language, should be a common language. If speaker is speaking in one language, in a different language, and listener is not able to acquire or is not able to understand what the speaker is saying, then it is not a kind of accepted code. The code is different. That is why communication will not take place. So this definition, first definition of communication, communication is a process of exchanging ideas, thoughts, information, knowledge, etc. between sender and receiver through accepted codes. This definition highlights 2-3 important points. That is what? Communication is a process. Right? Communication is a process of exchanging. The first feature of the first thing, important thing in the definition of this communication is what? Communication is a process of exchanging. Then what is being exchanged? Obviously ideas and thoughts and information being exchanged. then between sender and receiver, between speaker and listener, through accepted codes, means through accepted language. So this is what we understand uh, reading out this definition of communication. You know, there is exchange of ideas. There are, you know, two persons, sender and receiver. There is accepted code. If when these three things come together, it becomes, you know, a kind of communication. When these three things take place simultaneously, a communication takes place. If there is no sender, there is no receiver, we cannot imagine communication. Or if there is no accepted code, we cannot imagine communication. So there is a sender, there is a receiver, there is a common accepted code and exchange of ideas in the process of communication. Let us discuss second definition of communication. Communication is the activity or process of exchanging ideas. This exchange of idea is very common in both the definition. The second definition given by Oxford Dictionary, that is, communication is the activity or process of exchanging ideas. It is a process, activity or process of exchanging ideas and feelings, or of giving people information. Communication is the activity of giving people information. Very simply, Oxford Dictionary has defined the term communication. In this definition, we can observe two important things. This is what it is also, communication is also activity or process of exchanging, and exchanging of ideas or feelings, or giving people information. The third definition, communication, a process. Communication is a process by which information is exchanged between individuals through a common system of symbols. Common system of symbols, it refers to definitely common language, understandable language to reader as well as listener as well as speaker. Common symbol, signs or behavior. This definition is also a good definition. Communication is a process, right? It is in all the three definitions highlight that the communication is a kind of process of exchanging ideas and thoughts. There is a receiver, there is a sender, or there is a common accepted code. It is communication again the act or an instance of communicating. It is a kind of act or instance of communicating, the imparting or exchange of information, ideas or feelings. So this is what three definitions we have seen over here. Three important definitions of communication. Keith Davis in Human Relations at Work, the Dynamics of Organizational Behavior, in this book published in 1972, my friends, he defines the term as the transfer of information and understanding from one person to another. Keith Davis is defining the term communication as the transfer of information from one person to another person, or from one place to another person, and understanding from one person to another person. It is not just transfer of information, but equally what is important, the understanding of the message sent to receiver is important. If understanding is not taking place, no communication is taking place. So understanding from one person to another person, one business organization to another business organization. This is, from one to another. This is a process from one place to another place, or from one person to other place. Davies saw it as a bridge using which a person can cross safely the river of kind of a bridge and a kind of a river. He is observing like that. A person can cross safely the river of misunderstanding that sometimes separate people. That is why communication is important. If communication is not taking place properly, there may be some misunderstanding. My dear friends, let us use these definitions to identify few of the essential elements of all communication process. Communication process is really made of some essential elements, some essential parts. Without those elements, we cannot imagine in process of communication. In the process of communication, or in the communication, or communication involves different elements. So first element, communication involves a minimum of two people. Minimum of two people are there in the process of communication, and these two people are speaker and listener, or sender or receiver. The sender is a kind of source of information, and the receiver, who receives, who takes the information. This is what the first element of communication, that is minimum two people or minimum two persons, and these two persons are sender and receiver. So without sender, without receiver, we cannot imagine communication. The sender, second element of the very term communication, is the sender. The sender transmits or conveys or sends. Sender means who transmits or who conveys or who sends the message to establish common and shared knowledge to a receiver. The sender transmits. The role of the sender or the role of the speaker is what? The speaker speaks, or speaker conveys, or speaker sends the message. The sender, like that, sender's job is, who sends the message to establish common and shared knowledge to the receiver. So common and shared knowledge means a common knowledge between sender and receiver. The knowledge which is expected from the or the message which is expected from the receiver, that is being sent by the sender in the process of communication. Knowledge can be shared only if the receiver understands the meaning. Friends, knowledge can be shared only if the receiver understands the meaning of the message. If the meaning of the message is not understood by the receiver or listener, the message will become meaningless, obviously. Which means that understanding the meaning of the message is as crucial as its transference. The transference of the message is very important, and after transference of the message, the understanding of the message by the receiver is also equally important. The fourth element of the term communication, or it involves, while communicating, there are chances of misunderstandings that may occur due to misinterpretation of the message. While communicating, there are chances, obviously. When we communicate, we can commit some mistakes while communicating. So when we commit any mistake while communicating, it leads to misunderstanding. That is why while communicating, there are chances of misunderstanding that may occur due to misinterpretation of the message. So the speaker or the sender should take very much care that his message should not be misunderstood by the receiver or listener. So misinterpretation of the message can take place. If once the misinterpretation takes place, the meaning of the message will become really useless, or message will become useless. Keeping all these factors in mind, we should understand the concept of communication. So my dear friends, in this video we have discussed, or we have seen three important definitions of the term communication. The first definition, communication is a process of exchanging ideas, thoughts, information, knowledge, etc. between sender and receiver through accepted codes. The second definition given by Oxford Dictionary is communication is the activity or process of exchanging ideas and feelings or of giving people information. A third definition, a process, communication is a process by which information is exchanged between individuals through a common system of symbols, signs or behavior. These three definitions we have seen in this video, in this discussion, and four elements of the communication we have discussed. The first element of the communication, there should be two persons in communication. There must be minimum two persons, sender and receiver. The second element, the sender transmits the role of the sender. That is what he transmits, he conveys or he sends message to establish common and shared knowledge. The third element of the term communication is a knowledge can be shared only if the receiver understands the meaning of the message. So the third element is what? Understanding the meaning of the message is very important, because which means that understanding the meaning of the message is as crucial as its transference. So transference of transferring the message is the element of communication, and understanding the message is also element. The fourth essential element of communication, as we discussed, while communicating there are chances of misunderstandings and that may occur due to misinterpretation of the message. So my dear friends, we discussed in this video some definitions of the communication and essential elements of the communication. In our next video, we will be discussing the next point, that is the process of communication. Thank you very much.